What is up, fellow YouTubers? So there's a YouTuber by the name of Sydney Watson, and she's got a couple of videos that are like 12 or 13 minutes long a piece, and I'm here to do a video response to both of them. This first one, I'm kind of like, there were some good points, but overall I felt like it was kind of a stretch to make that point. You feel me, YouTube? And the second video I'll respond to, she made a lot more good points and actually shows you a perfect example of... The second video shows you a perfect example of how feminazi works, and we'll get to that here in a bit, but this is not an attack video by any means. This is just a response video from a male's perspective. Now the first video we're going to do a response to, we'll make both responses into like one long video. How that sounds? Does that sound good, YouTube? Alright. The first video is entitled, Seriously, ? Why is Gillette promoting obesity? Stop normalizing this. Alright. Get ready, because it's going to be a long one. And imagine if I made a video titled that. People everywhere were calling me a sexist, chauvinistic asshole, typical male, blah, blah, blah. They would go on this fucking spew about how every woman's created beautifully, blah, blah, blah. But a woman makes a video entitled this, and you're like, before we get started, this is just my perspective, a heterosexual, autistic male's perspective. I have Asperger's, by the way. It's not low functioning, it's high functioning. And the biggest difference between high functioning autism and low functioning autism is most low functioning autistics cannot control their temper at all. Like, there's nothing. They have to be placed into special environments, and that, you know what I'm saying? I lose my temper from time to time just like the rest of us, but I'm able to control it. At least I'm working on controlling it. But that's off topic. Just wanted to get that out of the way real quick. Alright.
So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but it seems like there's this trend at the moment where businesses and ad campaigns basically try to promote body positivity.
Yes, I've noticed this trend. There's nothing wrong with it. Everyone comes in different shapes and sizes, and
Seems fair, right?
it does, yes.
Haha, wrong. And
how is it not fair? Seriously. It's good to hear from a female's perspective, so... Okay, Sydney Watson, enlighten me. How is it not fair? How is body positivity not fair?
doing so most of the time, all they end up really doing is promoting obesity.
Wait, what? Okay, so you're saying that body positivity is not fair because it's promoting obesity. I mean... what? Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but okay, this is interesting because of the fashion industry making this douchey decision that women had to be super skinny, look like skeletons walking down the catwalk. All of a sudden, women everywhere felt extremely self-conscious about their body. And as a result of that, curvy women started stepping out, posting pictures of themselves on social media. A former female classmate of mine posted a picture on social media of herself in a bra and panties wearing her hair in some braids on either side. And it was a very tasteful photo. And the comment she wrote, the caption, the photo was, "I'm not ashamed of my curves." And it got a lot of positive response on social media, which is good. However, when I recognized the photo in a chat room, I saw a lot of people just picking her apart, and I'm like, you people are fucking stupid. It's a very gorgeous and very photogenic woman with a very positive body image message type thing, and a lot of it just sounded like jealous females. But yeah, I'd be curious to see your take on this, Miss Sydney, who is from Australia. In case you didn't notice the Australian accent, she's a Shayla. Nothing wrong with it. I'm just having some fun. But, anyways.
Because, like, why not? A notable example that some of you might remember was when Cosmopolitan put a very overweight model on the front cover of their magazine.
So her first example of why body positivity is unfair and that it promotes obesity is Cosmopolitan putting a heavyset woman on their magazine. Okay. I'm going to try to break this down for you, YouTube, as simply as I can. I have a bowl of pipe tobacco ready to go. Heavyset people who have been heavyset their entire life have been bullied, ridiculed, teased, looked at, or seen as gross, you know. And the truth of it is, not every guy wants the perfect, curvy, you know, what have you. Some guys are into heavier women, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's awesome. So just because you encounter a couple guys that aren't into fat chicks doesn't mean they're all like that. You know what I'm saying? That being said, ladies, I don't want to hear any excuses on the dating scene. No excuses. No excuses. I'm just saying, if I may be real for a second, you think to yourself, oh, I'm too fat, I'm never going to find someone. Fuck that. Ladies, get yourself a man who loves to cook and loves fat women. I guarantee you, you'll never be unhappy. And he'll take care of you. Eh? That being said, I think the reason why Cosmopolitan did that was to, you know, try to make fat people feel less ashamed of themselves. And then the doctors come out and tell people how unhealthy it is. And then they use that body confidence to either get better or just accept it, because that's what body positivity is. Some of these people cannot change how they look. That's just how they're born. You know, and that's to me what body positivity is all about, is accepting who you are. And if you can change it and you want to change it, you're changing because you want to, not because society says you're too fat. And it's, you know what I'm saying? And if you can't change it, just accepting yourself and just, I guess, eating healthier to try to maintain it so it's not too bad, you know? Not everyone has a high metabolism. And, yeah, okay, so there's your first example.
And then everyone went mad. But the buck does not stop there.
Oh, it doesn't? Right on. Well then, what is your other example of this? This ought to be good.
Gillette, the new woke brand, has jumped on board this initiative.
Okay, for those of you who are unaware, Gillette came out recently with a heavier set woman to advertise for their company, which is Marketing Genius. The biggest complaint I hear a lot of women make is, I'm sick and tired of companies designing products for women using overly attractive women. It's an unfair representation. And they do that, YouTube, because it makes less attractive women think, oh, if I buy that product, I'll be attractive like her. It's shallow marketing, but it works. And they do it to men, too. With the Gillette commercials, they'll show some chiseled, ripped dude shaving his face like it's the best shave a man can get. So Gillette basically said, let's try to reach a wider audience of people. Pardon the pun, was unintended. There's some mom in her 40s. She's got stretch marks and a couple of pounds of baby fat, which is perfectly normal. Nothing wrong with that. But maybe she feels self-conscious about the way she looks. And then she's scrolling through social media and she sees the Venus ad, and lo and behold, she's like, you know what, it could be worse. And if she's confident enough to be in her skin, then maybe I should be confident enough to be in mine. And then she's seeing Gillette saying, hey, you know what, we don't care what you look like. You got hair you want to remove, we got you covered. And then, of course, that jingle from the 90s pops saying, I'm your Venus. And then instinctively, she's going to want to buy that razor. It's marketing genius. So instead of using shallow tactics to, subconsciously brainwash people into buying shit, they use the more approachable way of saying, hey, here's somebody who's not afraid to be in her skin, so why should you be afraid? It's supporting women of all shapes and sizes rather than selectively picking out which ones are acceptable and which ones aren't. Save that shit for the dating scene. You know what I'm saying? Which, that's the truth of it. Why are you treating women like it's a dating scene? You know what I'm saying? There's a difference. Everyone's got standards, right? But at the same time, you know what I'm saying? If you're curvy or skinny and you're all over magazines, women of a plus size should be allowed to do that too, whether it's healthy or not, because it shows people that there are differences. But anyways, let's get back to the video response.
Because when they're not attacking men, they're telling you to love yourself. They use this image as part of a body positivity campaign for their women's range. They also said this in a tweet. Venus is committed to representing beautiful women of all shapes, sizes, and skin types, because all types of beautiful skin deserve to be shown. We love Anna because she lives out loud and loves her skin no matter how the rules tell her she should display it. Yeah, I think it's less a case of the rules telling you what to do and more the medical community.
This is where the body positivity / fat acceptance political issue has a problem. You know what I'm saying? On one half of the coin, you have these people who have been bullied their entire life, looked at like gross tubs of shit. You know what I'm saying? Picked on and harassed for being chubby. Oh, look at this guy. He's got the man boobies. Ha 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 ha. What are you, a transvestite? Ha 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 ha. Shit like that. Or look at this gross fucking whale. Look at her. She's fucking disgusting. Yeah. People are assholes. So their whole life, they're spending their life being ridiculed, told you're too fat. And here's the thing of it, and if I may be so brutally honest, Sydney Watson, if they would have used you for that Gillette ad, if they would have used yourself for that Gillette ad, there would have been several women complaining that, oh, this chick's too skinny, she doesn't represent all body types, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying you're too skinny, I'm just saying. Because predictably, you're doing the same thing by complaining, saying that this woman on the ad is too fat, and you justify your jealousy by saying it's medically unhealthy. And I say jealousy because It's just women picking women apart as usual, right? And I imagine you eat healthy and you exercise. You actually probably do a lot to maintain your figure. And then you see a woman who's being praised for not trying hard at all. And the last tiny little thought, that tiny little thought in the back of your mind, you know what it says? Oh, fucking hell, another woman to compete with, and she doesn't even have to try? That's bullshit. That's the cold hard truth of it.
I am genuinely really sick and tired of seeing businesses and ad campaigns basically promote a very, very unhealthy body type and lifestyle in order to appear more inclusive and tolerant.
It's not about being more tolerant. Well, it is to a degree being more tolerant because I can't help my Asperger's any more than people can help being fat, you know? And as somebody who gets picked on for the way they look, I can kind of relate to it, you know? I mean, not as bad as they have it, but at the same time, I sympathize with them because I'm like, dude, I'm a heterosexual goth autistic male. So when I wear the eye makeup and shit, and I go to Walmart to do a little bit of shopping, people will murmur out the corner of their mouth, faggot, tranny, that dude looks gay. And I'm like, first of all, I'm proud of what I got between my legs. And second of all, I know how to fuck some good puss. So, third of all, sex is not the most important thing on the planet. There are more important things. And fourth of all, you sitting there telling people, oh, you need to get laid. You're contributing to the problem. And the biggest problem with our society regarding men and women, the female form has been overly sexualized. Women are constantly expected to always be their prettiest and their most proper. It's just as fucking annoying as telling men, you have to be tough, you can't cry like a sissy, and you always have to be pounding some puss. Otherwise your masculinity is challenged. Fuck out of here with that.
I actually hate the body positivity movement.
Now there's something I never thought I'd hear a female say. I actually hate the body positivity movement. That just sounds like something some cringy, high-standard, sexist male would say, right, ladies? That's what it sounds like. That sounds like something that some dude that really hates fat people would say. But, no, a woman actually says this. So this is interesting. Why does she hate the body positivity movement?
Not because it encourages you to love yourself, that's actually a pretty nice concept, but because it normalizes obesity and tries to shut down any criticism of it.
Yeah, that's precisely the problem with this kind of movement, is that yes, people should be allowed to embrace who they are as people, but at the same time, doctors also should be allowed to come out and say, hey, these are the health risks. You know, and to be fair, do they call it smoker shaming when the Surgeon General comes out and says, cigarettes are dangerous for you if you become addicted to them? You smoke like 2-3 packs a day for 60 plus years, maybe 4 packs just because you can. Don't see how anyone can afford that shit. But you see what I'm saying? Then you get lung cancer and a hole in your fucking throat. You lose your fucking foot, and you're walking around with a peg foot and an oxygen tank going, you have to accept my smoking. I don't care if I look gross and creepy. I don't care if I look like Emperor Palpatine with a hole in his throat. I don't care if my tobacco smells gross and it offends you. You have to accept it. People would be like, yeah, but you did that to yourself, and why should I have to accept it? That's different, though, because sometimes people can't control if they're fat. Like I said, that's just how they're born. That's the only difference, you know. Well, yes, being fat can cause cancer and a shortness of breath, just like cigarettes, but at the same time, you know, some people can't control if they're fat. You can control whether or not you choose to smoke. That's just how it is. But I find the nicotine helps with my Asperger's. My brain doesn't release dopamine like it's supposed to, and because my brain doesn't release dopamine like it's supposed to, I'll have a drink, I'll smoke some tobacco, drink some caffeine, you feel me? But back to the video response.
Guess what's not useful? That.
Our doctors to be able to tell the truth. Because listen, let's face it, if you are too fat, you are on death row. You are on death row. We know that being too fat means that it can trigger cancer. And by the way, cancer research, we're told they were fat shaming a few months ago for warning us about it. The world's gone mad. Die. The world's gone mad. Stroke, heart disease, the list goes on. So
her next example is, Good morning, Britain. Could fat shaming help lose weight? And I'm like, motivating people through bullying is not a good way to do it. Nobody likes being bullied or teased or picked on. If you're going to motivate somebody, you're better off encouraging them. So instead of fat shaming people into losing weight, giving them the information they need and informing them of their decisions, and if whether or not they can help it if they're fat, they can at least be aware of the healthy options they can take to maintain their weight or lose it, so they're not getting fatter. You feel me? That's much better than, what I'm saying? It's the same thing with cigarette smokers. People give smokers the information they need to help them quit, and they also give them the information that tells them, hey, this shit's bad for you. And most of these people are aware of the fact that being fat and or smoking is bad for you. And if they choose that lifestyle, that's their fucking choice. It's freedom of choice, man. And that's one thing I agree with to an extent, But at the same time, if you choose to be fat, then nobody has to accept it. That's just the thing of it. That's kind of selfish of you to sit there and say, oh, well, hey, I chose this lifestyle. I can't help it. I can help it, even though the person I know next to me can't. And, you know what I'm saying? If you can help it and you choose that lifestyle, then you tell everyone, hey, fat acceptance, that's fuck you. Fuck you. There are people out there who can't help it and who are trying to fight for that shit. And because of fucking fat assholes like you, who choose to be fat because you're lazy, you're fucking giving the movement a bad name. Just like these feminazis. Oh, wait, what? Feminazi? Yeah, feminazi and the feminist movement, same comparison. We'll get to that on the other video response, but anyway, some talk show, yeah.
Sports Illustrated jumped on board this initiative as well by
Her next example, Sports Illustrated jumped on this bandwagon as well,
putting curvy models on the catwalk so that they were more representative of other body types.
Putting curvy models on the catwalk so they were more representative of body types. Yeah, and the clip she's playing is of a rather curvy, bodacious woman. That's what's up. And a very tasteful bathing suit to go with it, with all kinds of colors and what have you. Cool, man. There are a lot of chicks that would dig that kind of shiznit.
And again, this would have been perfectly fine had they not put women on the catwalk who were actually overweight.
You said, okay, remember this, YouTube. Remember what she just said. She said it would have been fine, except they put women that were overweight on the catwalk. And the clip she showed me, that woman was not by any means overweight. She had a couple extra pounds to love on, but she was not overweight. So I felt like that clip you showed was kind of a really crude and really basic example of the least fattest person you could see as far as fatness goes, kind of thing, But anyways, let's continue with the video response.
Because let's remember, there's a really big difference between being curvy and being overweight.
Yes, there is a big difference between being curvy and overweight. You're right. But the pictures you showed to demonstrate your points, again, I feel like a lot of people would look at the curvy photo and say, that chick's skinny. And I feel like a lot of people would look at the picture of the overweight chick and say, well, that chick's curvy. Because here's the definition of reality for a second. Each person's definition of curvy and skinny and fat is different. You know what I'm saying? So who is anyone to say what's a normal body weight? I mean, and that's just the thing of it too. Like the picture you show of this fat chick is not even extremely obese. She's got a little bit of extra pounds to love on, but she's not like, you know what I'm saying? You look at the picture of this chick that she calls curvy, and you can see she's got abs, and I'm like, you know, I call that skinny myself, and I call the picture right next to it a couple extra pounds to love, but I wouldn't call that fat by any means. That's, you know, yeah.
But let's be clear for a hot second. Nobody's born like this. This is 100% the result of bad diet and lifestyle choices.
She pulls up the picture of that Gillette ad again with that Venus model. And it's like I said, you know, I kind of feel like if they would have used you for the Gillette ad, Sydney, if they would have used you for the Gillette ad, people would have said, oh, that chick's too skinny. She doesn't represent all body types, blah, blah, blah. And they would have picked you apart just like you're picking these people apart. And you justify your jealousy that they don't even have to try to a degree, and they're getting more attention for their bodies than you are. And some part of that bugs you a little bit.
And what's so odd to me about all of this is that you have governments around the world basically trying to set up initiatives and campaigns to make sure that people actually lose weight and eat healthier. These campaigns encourage people to eat more fruit and vegetables. Australia has even floated the idea of a sugar tax. Actually, the UK actually has a sugar tax, and I'm pretty sure some states in America also have sugar taxes.
I'm not laughing at Sydney. I'm laughing at sugar taxes. That is fucking great. Sugar taxes. Man, do you think raising the prices on cigarettes gets people to quit smoking? Most of the time, no, it doesn't. And junk food's no different. You put a tax on sugar because you're trying to encourage people to eat less of that crap and eat more healthy shit. I'm like, you know, that doesn't work. If people are addicted to junk food, if people are addicted to sweets and junk food, they're going to pay for it anyway. And then on top of the sugar tax, you get these companies who are deciding to shrink their proportions. The bags of chips are having less chips and more air, and they say it's to conserve freshness. Bullshit. They sit there with their Snickers bars and the Three Musketeers bars. These candy bars are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. They don't do it instantly, they do it slowly but surely over time. And when then someone notices these things, these companies come out and say, we're trying to encourage people to eat more healthily, so by shrinking our proportion sizes, that doesn't work. Because people are going to sit there and go, you know, I don't feel my chocolate craving. I want to buy another one. You're making it easier, making it so much easier for these people to stuff their faces with your product. And you really think a goddamn candy company, a fucking candy company, is going to sit there and say, oh yeah, we don't want people to eat our product? Because that's basically what they're saying is, oh, we want people to eat more healthily. Bullshit. Bullshit. You want people to consume your product. That's how you make sales. But doing that makes them look like a company who cares, so that way people feel reassuring when they eat their product, while they're getting fucked up the ass by charging the same price for a smaller product. Anyways.
There are countless initiatives in Australia that encourage children to get moving by walking to school or owning a bike or digging holes. I'm not really sure what kids do. The point is that schools and the government and parents, I would assume, are trying to get kids moving because childhood obesity is getting more and more prominent.
And really, YouTube, there is no excuse for childhood obesity to be prominent. You know, that's where it's up to the parents to be a bit more responsible. But picture for just 1 second, spanking is a form of child abuse now because too many kids are reporting false abuse and too many parents are going too far with it, spanking too hard, that kind of thing. And so they just got tired of dealing with it all and said, fuck it. It's a form of child abuse. It's illegal. Keep that in mind because, quite literally, you can let your kid eat junk food, sweets, sit in front of the TV, and get really fucking fat. And it only becomes an issue when it's almost too late. Then they start talking about it as, oh, we gotta do something. It's become an epidemic. And I'm like, really? But you could have stopped it before it happened. That's my point. Some people might look at that and say, that doesn't look very healthy for your kid. And then that's as far as it goes. So, spanking your kid when they've gone too far is illegal. I love conjuring thunderstorms. 1 second, I gotta wave my wand. Give us a nice thunderstorm for our rant and video response. Yeah. My Scottish Viking ancestors' clan colors were black, green, and gold. And coincidentally, my two favorite colors are black and green, so, you know. But, yeah, that's ridiculous. Give me thunder, give me lightning, give me rain. I love playing with thunderstorms in the spring. Beautiful, YouTube. But yeah, I don't think, like, there's no excuse for childhood obesity. And here's the thing of it, man. If you're watching TV with your kid in the living room and you're drinking a pop, and they go, can I have one? And you say no because pop's bad for you. Well, how come you get to drink one? Because I'm the adult. Well, that's not fair. You know, shit like that. That's when kids get their first taste of hypocrisy. So I'm not saying that kids shouldn't be allowed to consume sugar. I'm just saying moderate it. You know, maybe less sugar and more healthier options. So they grow up stronger and healthier. You know what I'm saying? Like, you take maybe like less pop and more V8 tomato juice. And if they don't like the tomato juice, let them try the V8 fruit juice. They're both good in my opinion. You know, it's a good source of energy and, you know, when I was a kid, I loved drinking V8 fruit juice. The tomato juice as well. Because that shit did come out when I was a bit younger. Oh, I meant to say the tomato juice, but yeah. The fruit juice came out when I was a little bit older, but when I was a kid, I loved drinking V8 tomato juice. That shit's delicious. Oh, come on. That's all? No. Thunder, 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 thunder. Boom, nice and loud. Yeah. So I feel like if you're going to use childhood obesity as an excuse, if you're going to use childhood obesity as an excuse to say why you don't support body positivity movement, that is a stretch and a half, dude. Because as I said before, body positivity is about accepting your body for what it is. If you can change it, then change it. But only change because you want to. Don't change because society says otherwise, you know?
Across the board generally, this is a huge problem. Obesity is a massive, massive problem, and it's not going to abate anytime soon. Because regrettably, food is delicious.
What? What? Okay, so Sydney Watson says the reason why obesity is never going to go away is because, regrettably, food is delicious. That is the biggest load of crap. Dude, that is an excuse. That is an excuse. That's like me saying, oh, I can't date of-age chicks because I live in a small town. I'm not allowed to date because my trolls are assholes and I have Asperger's. Fuck that. That's an excuse. I'm not gonna let these trolls ruin my dating life. Get out of here with that. That is... wow. Really, obesity, you know, for those of you who can control it, that's less of a problem. But your kid throws a screaming fit because they want to go to McDonald's and you give in to it. They order some big ass fucking burger they don't need. They eat the entire thing, stuff themselves fat on calories, spend maybe like 10 minutes in the playroom, and then leave. Now they're sitting here with all this built up fucking energy, and that sugar hits them and they start getting real fucking hyper. They're sitting there on their ass with the fucking sugar high going, yeah, let's get shit done. And then they crash. And look, calories are not the enemy, YouTube. It's what you do with those calories. If you consume nothing but junk food and then sit on your ass, you're going to get fat. That's just how it is. I love playing with thunderstorms. Quite fun. I'm sitting here like, I want to conjure a thunderstorm for YouTube. I haven't done that in a minute. And subconsciously, it just happens. Yeah.
So yeah, it strikes me as odd that you have campaigns and initiatives over here encouraging people to lose weight, and then you have campaigns and initiatives on the other side putting very overweight people in the limelight and then basically saying, haha, look, body positivity. It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, if it doesn't make any sense, then allow me to explain, as I have explained several times in this video. Fat people spend their entire lives getting picked on and bullied for the way they look. And for once in their life, they get to feel sexy and attractive, which is something everybody wants to feel. It's a natural human function to want to feel sexy and attractive. Not everybody can be as skinny as you are, Sydney. And I'm sure there are a lot of heavyset women who would be grateful to be as skinny as you. I love playing with thunderstorms. This is awesome. And because of that, and because Gillette wanted to appeal to a wider audience to sell their product, this is why we have it. Now, the reason why we have body positivity is because it's a way to motivate people to accept themselves or to lose weight without, you know what I'm saying, without being a dick about it. You know what I'm saying? And this is why we have the other half of the argument where doctors are saying, hey, these are the health consequences. You know what I'm saying? Because when it comes down to it, YouTube, what they're saying is it's okay if you're fat, just, that's your choice, I guess. Some people can't help it. But if you want to maintain a lower weight or whatever, here's what you can do, kind of thing. Because that's just how it is, YouTube, and fucking A.
One of many articles from last year covers this exact topic. Debate has erupted over whether obese models should be banned from fashion runways after doctors warned drastically overweight supermodels send health messages that are just as dangerous as those sent by models who are underweight.
Now, this is one of those things where I'm like, it doesn't matter what you do. Women are always going to compare themselves to other women. So you could put some super skinny model on the cover of a magazine. You could put some curvy, healthy size model on a magazine. You could put some fat, morbidly obese woman on a cover of a magazine. It don't matter. And it's just how it is. Excuse me. God damn it. Oh, sorry about that. But debate has erupted over whether obese models should be banned from fashion runways after doctors warned drastically overweight supermodels send health messages that are just as dangerous as those sent by models who are underweight. This is what pisses me off about it. Why did it take all but like 2 years for people to make these conclusions about overweight? Why did it take several years for the fashion industry? Why did it take several years for the fashion industry with their skeleton chicks walking down the runway bullshit before people stood up and said something? Why did it take this long for this movement to happen? This is ridiculous. Where were the fucking doctors when these fucking chicks were being forced to starve themselves for a fashion show? It's telling people, hey, this underweight bullshit is not cool. This is not healthy. Women don't have to look like this to be considered attractive. This is not a good look. You look like a goddamn crack whore. You look like Schmeagol, for fuck's sake. I'm just saying, like, where the fuck were these doctors then? And that's, like, the problem with it. That's the undermining issue with fat shaming as a whole, is that if you're too skinny or skinny, no one's going to harass you that much. But if you're fat, overweight, people are going to give you shit. And it's like, really? No. And the example she made is she's sick and tired of companies advertising for these people, and the websites she was listing were clothing stores online. And I'm like, here's the thing of it. A lot of morbidly obese people have a hard time buying clothes. They have to go to special novelty stores. They have to go to online to shop. So sometimes finding clothes that are comfortable, that they think look good, and that they think look stylish and make them feel sexy, you know what I'm saying? That could be hard for people who are heavier set. So there's a market for that, and people see that as a way to make some money, and as well as make a lot of people feel more confident about the way they look. Which, as any human being will tell you, nobody likes being judged for the way they look. That's just one of those things like, really? Thunder, thunder, thunder. Oh almighty rain coming down upon us all. Thunder booming like the fiery cannons of hell. Lightning striking like a cobra swift through the night. Boom. Almighty rain. Now they're saying that, what else are they saying? That Dr. Brad Frankham fears that growing popularity of extremely overweight models is glorifying obesity, likening the use of overweight models to advertisements for cigarettes.
New South Wales top doctor Brad Frankham fears the growing popularity of extremely overweight models is glorifying obesity, likening the use of overweight models to advertisements with cigarettes. This doctor says that there is a fine line between being confident and promoting unhealthy messages.
Yes, there is a fine line between being confident and promoting unhealthy messages. That's the second one I'm going to ask you to remember, and that's all, because when we get to the second video that I want to do a response to,
We don't want anyone to feel ashamed or embarrassed by the way they look, and everyone needs to wear clothes. But there is a difference between being confident in who you are and promoting a healthy weight message. Dr. Frankham said a better message would be...
And this is the problem that women have to face on an almost daily basis. You're never at just the right size, are you, ladies? It's always you're too fat or you're too skinny, and it's ridiculous.
Though Gillette's advertising team are actually pretty clever, because I think all they're really trying to do is create posts and videos and whatever that are eventually going to go viral. Because really, let's be realistic for a second, why would you put someone like this in an ad campaign? Because people on both sides of the coin react. Just like I'm doing right now. Because we are predictable.
Yes. When you post an ad of what is considered conventionally unattractive woman and use her to promote your product, you're trying to make other women feel sexier and confident. It's not... Well, that is part of it, because they want posts like that to go viral. And that's just the shock value of our society. What can we do to shock people next? So eventually you run out of things to shock people with. And it works, because it not only does it... So she's partly right on that part, at least, with the... you know what I'm saying?
Because I've made another video already about this topic, I'm going to try not to repeat myself here, but I do want to reiterate the fact that there is a huge difference between healthy, normal, natural body types and being genuinely overweight. And believe me, I get it. Not everyone relates to or feels good looking at that size 6 model who's bouncing down the runway, which is understandable because human beings come in all shapes and sizes. Although that's the corniest line ever, it's actually true. However, there is a big difference between a pear-shaped body type who is bottom-heavy because of actual genetics and I eat my feelings. Oh, that was harsh. The interesting thing about...
Yeah, you make jokes like that. You make your harsh little... Oh, that was harsh. There's a big difference between pear-shape and I eat my feelings. Every human does this. I don't give a fuck who you are. Men and women do this shit. Okay? Sometimes when we get depressed, we'll reach for like some ice cream or some junk food because it makes us feel better. We're having a sour day, so we grab a cookie and all of a sudden, hey, the world is not so shitty anymore. You have a cookie. Both sexes do this shit. Don't get it twisted. Women aren't the only ones that eat junk food when they're depressed. Men do it too. Oh yeah. Trust and believe that. You ever see a man get depressed? So you know what he does? He goes to his favorite bar, or a bar, whatever, orders a burger and a beer and some fries and some wings. And he just goes ham. He fucking drinks 3 or 4 beers, fucking eats his wings, eats his fries, eats his burgers, belches loudly and says, yeah, and then he feels better afterwards. After 4 beers and delicious bar food, he doesn't feel so shitty anymore. He feels like, hey, you know, because even you said it, regrettably, food's delicious.
This is while these ad campaigns try to make people feel better about themselves, it actually seems like they're having pretty deleterious effects on the general population.
Okay, this is the problem with the fat acceptance movement. If you're trying to make people feel better about themselves, you can't do it without people now thinking, okay, this is the new it thing. Now you have to be stupid fat. And Family Guy's newest episode, where Meg becomes a YouTube celebrity, paints a perfect example of these modern times and what I'm saying. And if you watch that episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. What's up, yo? Refrigerator Meg here. Like, I watched that episode, and she's like, Refrigerator Meg here, and I'm like, oh, dude, this episode's fucking hilarious. Yeah. And then, like, right at the end of that episode of Family Guy, Meg's feet are dead from all the crappy eating, and she's still going around, you know. All her fans are fucking morbidly obese. Everyone's fat. And then when she tries to encourage them to eat healthy, they all attack her. Or they all boo her and stop following her. And I'm like, oh, that's some bullshit. It was a funny episode. More stats and articles and this and that. I mean, you can watch the entire video for yourself. I'm kind of just skipping through. I've already watched it all the way through, and I'm kind of just skipping through to the parts that are relevant for this video.
This study is like the be-all and end-all of studies about this particular topic, but I do think it's interesting food for thought. Get it? Food for thought.
Food for thought. That's hilarious. Food for thought. That's what she calls these articles, telling us what we already know. Food for thought.
Okay, never mind. A 2018 study from the UK suggested that people are more likely to underestimate how overweight or obese they are, and this is likely the result of the normalization of obesity. The study suggests that clothing lines for larger women and the body positive movement helps reduce stigmatization of larger bodies, but it can also potentially undermine the recognition of being overweight and its health consequences. The study also notes that this happens especially when retailers label larger clothing with smaller sizes than their actual fit and cut. Because the only way to feel good about yourself is when you're being lied to. Can I also just say too, what?
Wow. The only way to feel good about yourself is when you're being lied to. Oh, yeah, that's kind of... This is why when the woman will ask her man, hey honey, do these jeans make my ass look fat? And even though he wants to say yes, he says no because it makes her feel good. And yeah, that was kind of mean, but you know, that's the truth, really. Nobody likes hearing the truth. And here's the thing of it, ladies, if your man says you look fat, you know what you can do? Be like, well, then let's go to the gym. Let's go to the gym and work out together as a couple. We'll both lose weight. We'll both look good. And then you could turn it around on him, and if he says, no, I don't need to go to the gym, blah, 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 that's when you look at him and go, what, you don't support me? Fucking asshole, my mother was right.
Why is it always obese women in these ad campaigns?
Why is it always obese women in these campaigns?
Where are the overweight men? Like, I'm not even kidding here. Have you ever seen a body positive movement for men?
No, you do not see a body positive movement for men because society expects men to be hairy, gross, fat, disgusting, sex-crazed animals. Because, like I said earlier in this video, the negative double standard that affects women, there's two of them, there's several, but the main two that women have to deal with is society always expects women to be their prettiest, and society always expects women to be ladylike and proper, and society has overly sexualized the female form. The consequences of these negative standards is that women are put underneath all this pressure to not be fat and disgusting, and no one cares if men are fat and disgusting. You know, that's just what it comes down to.
Here is no dad bods. Only women apparently can have dad bods. Learn it. Anyway, the point here is there is absolutely nothing wrong with showing diverse body types who fit into clothes and whatever.
What? She just said, anyways, there's nothing wrong with showing diverse body types that fit into clothes, whatever. Okay, but you remember when she went on that tangent about Sports Illustrated trying to advertise for more diverse people on the runway, more diverse, more curvy women on the runway, and she said, oh, there's nothing wrong with that except they chose to use fat people. And now she's saying, oh, there's nothing wrong with it at all. I think she just contradicted herself hard.
But people who look like the woman in this Gillette ad are not the norm. And they...
Oh, obviously they're not the norm, but just because they're not the norm doesn't mean they shouldn't be represented. You know what I'm saying? Just because it's not the norm doesn't mean they shouldn't be represented. How many times do I hear women complain about, you know, like I said, women complaining because they're using women that are way too attractive, and it sets an unrealistic expectation for women everywhere else, you know? And now this is, like I said, Sydney, okay, like I said, if they would have used you for the commercial, or for the ad, there would have been several women picking you apart saying, oh, well, you know, this chick's too skinny, blah, blah, blah. And you're not, but I'm just saying.
They shouldn't be the norm, mainly because of the multitude of health issues that come along with being overweight. And believe me, there are many. Take Australia, for example, better represented by sizes 10 to 14 than anything else. What they're not going to be represented by, on the other hand, are people who look like they're a few donuts short of a heart attack. You want to be body positive? Fine. You want to appeal to a wider market? Fine. Put a size 12 on the runway, put a size 10 in your ad campaign, done, dusted. That's probably more representative of everyday, average, normal people than someone who is grossly obese.
And what makes you so sure of this? Because in the same video, this very same video, you went on this tangent, this fucking tangent, pardon my French, tangent, about how obesity has become a real problem in our society. So maybe they are representing the more normal type. you know? And maybe body positivity is just about motivating people to lose weight or accept it if they can't change it. You know? And just be happy with what they have. But you're saying you don't care if they want to do all this shit. You don't care if they want to add overweight models, blah, blah, blah. You clearly care, otherwise you wouldn't have made this 13-minute and 40-second video about how disgusting it is that they're using fat women for ad campaigns and how it's so unhealthy. Clearly you care.
The really sad thing about all of this is that we're at a point where more people on this planet die as the result of obesity than being underweight. I think we're going to need a benefit concert for obesity next. Where's Bono? In Australia, over 63% of the population are overweight or obese. But as far as I see it, appealing to that is not the answer. I mean, it doesn't mean we have to go out and shame people and throw food at them and get them to jog up hills, but it definitely doesn't mean that we should be putting people into ad campaigns and promoting this idea that looking like this and having this lifestyle is genuinely acceptable when it's not. Millennials, which is my generation, are set to be the fattest generation on record, which is insane to me.
You heard it here first, folks. I guess millennials are the fattest generation on record. Well, with the disgusting, fattening food that I make, all my bacon cheeseburgers stuffed with cardinal fucking cherries and peanut butter and brown sugar and mozzarella cheese, fucking macaroni and cheese barbecue bacon cheeseburgers and pizza burgers and pizza nachos and nachos with bacon, and yeah, I can't imagine why. But that's the thing of it. I don't just sit on my ass all day, every day. I do get out and move. You know, I'll go to a friend's house, bullshit for a bit, you know. Like I said, it's not the calories that are the enemy, it's what you do with them calories. And if you sit on your ass and do nothing, then of course you're going to get fat.
Obesity in children is through the roof, and fatalities as the result of obesity and illnesses and complications as the result of obesity are getting more and more every year. So as mean as this is going to sound and as harsh as it's going to sound, I don't accept having very, very overweight people in ad campaigns. I don't accept seeing them on the runway, and I honestly don't want to see them in this sort of pop culture media limelight because I think it's irresponsible. That being said, let me be clear about this. I have a lot of respect for people who are overweight or obese who recognize that in themselves and are doing something to change it, even if it's something very small, baby steps daily. I think that that is much more impressive than saying, I embrace myself, I look fantastic on this Gillette Venus thingy while being really super overweight. In the end, being this overweight is a choice. And even doctors say that getting to this point is the result of making the choice every day to not look after yourself, to not eat properly, to not work out, and so on and so forth. And this happens over years. At any point during the process, these people can pull back from it and fix what's happening to them, but they just don't. Looking like this and getting to this level of obesity actually requires effort. So in the end, unless you're someone who is overweight as the result of actual illnesses or complications and things like that, where it's actually out of your control, I have so much sympathy for those people. But if you're not in that category, then this is your own fault. And it really, really, really should not be something that we are promoting as a lifestyle to anyone. But at the end of the day, being obese is honestly something that's avoidable and something that should be inexcusable. And as far as I'm concerned, these ad campaigns, the body positivity thing, has a lot to answer for. So let me know in the comments what you think about this. Do you think I'm being super harsh, or do you think that these ad campaigns are actually really disastrous and will ultimately have really, really bad consequences? As always, if you like the video, hit subscribe and the thumbs up button. If you want to leave a comment, feel free to do so. Just don't be rude about it. And I will see you guys next time.
Just don't be rude about it. Right after she made some of the comments that she made in this video, Don't be rude about it. uh, okay, that one was that one, but freaking. Then we got this one. Holy shit. Okay, how long is this video so far? 1 hour long. Good gravy. Okay, let's wrap this up with the second one.
So, after all the abusive messages I got last week from feminists.
Oh, from feminists. You mean feminazis. 4 reasons why feminism is full of hypocrisy. Video by Sydney Watson. And when you hear this title, again, you're thinking, this sounds like a video a guy would make. But no, this is a woman complaining about feminism. And this is precisely why feminazi culture is so toxic. Because it's an infection. It makes women act entitled. And, well, how do you know someone's a feminazi? Let's see. If the woman treats the man like shit, disrespectful, sexist, if the woman hates men, if anything regarding the man is sexist, if anything just man period is hated and regarded as sexist and this and that, yeah. A feminazi is basically the female equivalent of a woman hater, but instead of hating women, they hate men. And we've all met these women that are total man haters. We've met them. You know what I'm saying? These would-be angry feminazis. A real feminist will be like, you know what? She's going to fight for her gender equality. She's going to acknowledge that, yes, women have been oppressed, but that doesn't mean that men aren't oppressed either. A true female feminist will acknowledge that both sexes get a bunch of shit from society. And, yeah. And she'll fight for gender equality without being sexist towards men. Which is something I've never quite understood, YouTube. These feminazis who bitch and complain to anybody who will listen. Anybody who will listen. How they're sick and tired. How they're sick and tired of sexist men. Because all men are just pigs. Right. You know, calling all men just pigs, that's just like calling all women sluts or bitches. And that's kind of unfair. And that was a point that Sydney made in this video, which is why I'm like, hey, that is so refreshing to hear from a female for once, instead of, you know, I mean, here's the thing of it though. If I made a video entitled, "Why is Gillette encouraging obesity? Stop normalizing this," people would look at me and go, well, you're a fucking asshole for picking on fat people. But when a skinny white girl from Australia when a skinny white attractive female from Australia makes the videos, it comes off as kind of narcissistic and cringy to some people. That's why they dislike it. Like, who the fuck is this chick to talk about these problems when she's never had to be ridiculed for the way she looks? Oh, wait. Every woman gets picked on for the way she looks. That's just human nature, unfortunately. And that's the sad truth of it. And a real feminist who's woke and empowered is not going to give a shit about other men. She's not going to give a shit about the other women. She's going to give a shit about the people she knows and the people in her life and herself. She'll be a caring and generous person, but generosity only goes so far. Sometimes you got to help yourself before you can help others. And that's just the cold hard truth of it. But yeah, feminazis have infected the minds of our society. They have literally created this toxic culture where women are literally treating men like shit in the name of feminism. You're now considered a brave female if you treat men like shit. You know, and that's kind of ass backwards. And women who sit there and complain because men are assholes 200 years ago. Okay, so then what, if you don't like that, then why would you want to treat someone else like that? Because wouldn't that piss you off if that's how you were getting treated? You know? Kind of deal. But, yeah, fresh bowl of tobacco.
It made me realize that I too want to be a feminist. I'm just kidding. That is never going to happen.
So every time Sydney Watson says feminist, replace the word feminist with feminazi, and you start to notice a pattern. How feminazis are basically sexist females who hate men. That's just the simplest way to put it. And you're about to, let's just get into it. Sydney Watson on hypocrisy and feminazism.
Considering that things are pretty crazy at the moment between men and women, I feel like it's a good time to recap all the stupidity that feminism has brought us this week.
Okay, this video was published July 4th, 2018. And to be quite simple, men and women hate each other right now. Why else would you see all these women who are constantly going on about how they don't need a man in their life, and then you see these men doing the men going on their own movement? You call me an ass for saying it, but it's the truth. Men and women hate each other.
In the last 2 weeks, Australian brand Peter Alexander has come under fire for stocking its shelves with a t-shirt that reads, "Boys will be boys." Because, you know, what else would boys be? You know what? Forget I asked that. It's 2018. That's a pretty complicated question. Now, after a few people complained, the brand ended up removing the shirts from their stores and then issued an apology. One of the women who first complained said that the shirts were sexist and that they weren't appropriate.
What? Okay, hold on a second. There is a clothing store in Australia that had a shirt entitled with the slogan on the front, "Boys will be boys." Several people, mainly women, mostly women, complained that the shirt was sexist, and the store removed the shirt and issued an apology. Keep that in mind.
Yes, really sexist. What is interesting to me about the statement is that someone took offense to the term "boys will be boys," a simple term that's been used for decades to describe boys doing boyish things, which to me would mean like playing in the dirt and eating rocks and all that kind of stuff. It is incredibly interesting to me that somebody would take a phrase like that, an innocent phrase, a phrase that doesn't mean anything offensive, and turn it into something ugly. Yeah, it's sexist to say that boys will be boys because, you know, boys. We're talking about men, therefore it's sexist. Yeah, Sydney, it's sexist because any mention of men makes it sexist.
That right there is not a feminist attitude. That is a feminazi attitude. Any mention of boys, men, or dudes makes it sexist automatically. That right there is the primary core of what a lot of these psychotic feminazi types believe.
Now, a couple months ago, someone complained about a shirt that was stocked in Target.
Another shirt. This time it's in Target, Australia. Let's see what it's all about.
The shirt was for little girls, and the shirt read, "Girls are smarter." For those of us that speak English and live on planet Earth, the inference is that girls are smarter than boys.
Yep. So Target Australia had a shirt for little girls that said, "Girls are smarter." And what they're saying on that shirt is, girls are smarter than boys. So that shirt was a lot more sexist and demeaning than the "Boys will be boys" shirt, for one. And two, I might add that a lot of our super geniuses that we've discovered in the past were mostly men. Albert Einstein, Stephen Hawking, to name just a couple. Not trying to be sexist, but I'm sure there's a lot of wicked smart females out there, but, you know, society never gives them the chance because, you know. And what I'm getting at is, yes, women will encounter double standards just as much as men. That is gender equality at its finest, realizing that men and women both face double standards. And when I'm seeing this pattern of women saying they don't need a man in their life, and then men going on their own movement, I like to make videos and then put a stop to that bullshit and help men and women understand each other just a little bit better. But then nobody takes it like that whenever I make a video about double standards or sexism or anything like that. It always gets met with this sort of attitude like, oh great, here we go again.
The thing was that Target didn't see anything wrong with having this sort of message stuck on its apparel, and so when someone complained, this was their response. Hi, Jacob, thanks.
Oh, and here's the best part of it. Now, if the female complaint, okay, this is an example of where women have more privilege than men sometimes, right? When women throw a pussy fit, they get what they want. I'm not going to call it a bitch fit because women don't like being called bitches. But here's the thing of it. This is why I have a lot of respect for women, because this right here just proves that women have more privilege on some things. So Jacob, a concerned Australian citizen and shopper at Target, saw the shirt that said girls are smarter and felt like that was being sexist towards men. And even though it didn't say girls were smarter than boys, it didn't have to, because that's exactly what the shirt was implying. So when Jacob writes to Target Australia to say, hey, could you remove the shirts, that's kind of, you know. Here's the message that Target Australia sends to Jacob. Hi, Jacob. Thanks for your comment. Our Lily Loves Velour print t-shirt is part of our women's youth range and was designed as a positive message to young women with no intention to cause offense to anyone. We appreciate you taking the time to raise your concerns. This whole battle of the sexes bullshit, I'm so fucking sick and tired of it. Anything you can do, I can do better. No, you can't. Yes, I can. Yeah, no, you can't. Yes, I can. Can. Fuck out of here with that. Now imagine for 1 second if Target Australia had put a shirt in their boys section that said, women are stupid and boys are stronger. Oh, trust and believe, that shirt would not last 5 minutes on the shelf. All it would take is from some angry, pissed off soccer mom to fucking walk by that shirt with her son and go, well, I am just appalled. Takes a picture of the shirt, sends a message to her friend, hey, saw this at Target, hashtag sexism, hashtag women's lib, I'm so pissed right now, blah, 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 blah. Then her and her friend fucking repost that message on social media. Next thing you know, everyone's triggered. Because women's issues are taken more seriously than men's. That's just how it is. Men are told to suck it up and tough it up, buttercup. And if men try to bitch or complain about it, they get the argument of, yeah, well, your gender oppressed our gender for the last 200 plus years. Women didn't have the right to vote, so you get what's coming to you. And I'm like, oh, dude, come on. 2 wrongs don't make a right. For fuck's sake.
Thanks for your comment. Our Lily Loves Velour print t-shirt is part of our women's youth range and was designed as a positive message to young women with no intention of causing offense to anyone. We appreciate you taking the time to raise your concerns. That's a nice sentiment. Poorly executed, but a nice sentiment. You know what? Yeah. I guess in 2018 that makes sense because a positive message meant to empower women does work by putting down men.
Okay. Again, if you're using feminism as an excuse to put down men, you're a feminazi. And when enough women do it collectively, it makes society think that's just how women are. It's no different than when you see women date nothing but assholes and losers and pieces of shit. All of a sudden, this negative stereotype that women love assholes comes about. You ever wonder that? You ever wonder why is it? Because when you think to yourself, if I want a girlfriend, I want her to be close to my age, in her 20s, and I want her to love and respect me, and I want to be physically and mentally attracted to her on a whole other level, to where her smoking hot body is just a bonus, you know what I'm saying? That's not so wrong of me to want, but more than the hot body, I want respect, you know what I'm saying? So I think to myself, why do women want to date assholes? Whenever I hear that negative stereotype that all women want is assholes, I think that can't be true. I put myself in their shoes and I think about how I would look at it, and I'm like, no, that can't be true. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, I mean, I see that. Now look, I'm gonna go ahead and say that there's a pretty big difference between telling boys to be boys and girls that they're smarter than boys, which really is the implication here. But I mean, how could I possibly forget that telling one whole gender that they're better than another whole gender is exactly the way to achieve empowerment? Saying that boys will be boys is genuinely a harmless sentiment. The only reason that it's been twisted and changed in recent times is because women have attributed something to it that's not correct. Like, boys will be boys means boys will be rapists, boys will be murderers, boys will be violent. Target's unfortunate bumble didn't make headlines, it didn't even make the papers, and it certainly didn't make any feminists incredibly angry.
how about that? So, in regards to those two shirts, the one saying boys will be boys, that triggered feminists everywhere, feminazis, whatever, you know, feminazi types. That immediately got taken down. But the incidents at Target didn't even make headline news. So, and this is what feminazi culture does. It's teaching women to belittle men. The very thing they complain about, the opposite sex is bullying me and I'm tired of it. And they turn around and do it to the opposite sex right back. You know? And if men and women are not making a conscious effort to be nicer to one another and to respect one another, then we're always going to have these fucking problems.
Nobody was storming in the streets, nobody was making a big fuss about it, and there was no social media storm about what the shirts actually said, despite the fact that, in my opinion, it was much worse than simply saying boys will be boys. Cindy, hello, what are you doing? Sorry, I was just practicing my oppression face. Okay, what were we talking about right, men? Okay, Sydney, it's 2018. Seriously, boys can be whatever they want. Yeah, I mean, sure, like in terms of work and things like that, like their job, yeah, they can do whatever they want. Honestly, Sydney, your grasp of feminist issues is really sad. I think part of the problem, too, is that justifying something by saying that it's female empowerment, and mind you, these are not adults that are buying these shirts, these will probably be like 7-year-olds, saying that this is something that should empower them is wrong. Telling boys that they will be boys, it's really not that much of a problem comparatively. It's becoming increasingly obvious that we hold women and men to different standards.
Well, no shit. We hold men and women to different standards. No shit. That is the fucking truth of it, really. And, yeah. Just because we hold men and women, and that's what really unites men and women. Men and women have a couple of things in common. They're both held to different standards. They They both have a natural desire for companionship, lust, and to be loved, appreciated, and attracted to other people they find attractive, and vice versa. Every human has that desire to some extent. You know? And it's completely unfair that women are allowed to have all the fucking standards in the world, but as soon as a man has standards, he's a pig. But anyway.
And when I say this, there's a lot of things that have happened recently that have illustrated that point. Again, in Australia, in the last 2 weeks, a woman hit her boyfriend with her car.
Captured on camera walking towards his girlfriend's vehicle after witnesses say she busted him in another woman's car. The girlfriend pulls out, then he is struck down. And
okay, so in Australia, this news article, this woman caught her man cheating on her, busted him in another car with another woman, and when he tried to get out and walk towards her, she basically ran his ass over with the car. She didn't get out and politely say, hey, what the fuck were you doing in that chick's car, you piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. She didn't talk with him like a reasonable adult. She's just decided, fuck it, I'm going to run your ass over. At some point, you have to realize that women are a lot more psychotic than men, and because they're allowed to be.
Pinned under her car.
That man had allegedly cheated on the woman, and therefore there were a lot of women commenting and saying that her actions were justified and that the whole act itself was really funny. I mean, yeah, cool, that's not even mildly psychopathic. This is hilarious. I'd still be laughing if it were the other way around. Moral of the story is don't cheat.
People leaving comments. She's now reading comments that other people have left on this particular story.
A girlfriend tagged her boyfriend and then wrote, see this? I'll do worse. I'll make sure you're dead. Oh, that sounds like a healthy relationship.
No shit. We get this culture where if men cheat on women, they're ridiculed and picked to shit. The negative stereotype is that men always cheat, men are always the hound dogs, blah, 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 blah. And then when women overreact to the cheating by either just cutting his junk off or running him over with a car, people laugh at the son of a bitch. They ridicule him, right? But if a dude catches his woman cheating on him with another dude, and he pulls out a gun and shoots both his wife and the dude she's with, it's not met with, oh, ha, 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 that's hilarious. No, it's met with, you're a piece of shit and you're a monster and you just committed murder and you're going to jail. Really? And do you think that woman went to court for attempted murder when she ran over her now ex-boyfriend? Fuck no. Because the court look at her and say, well, he did cheat on you, so I guess it was justified. And that's what people are saying. Like, really? It's disgusting. And guess what? Women cheat too. Oh yeah, trust and believe. Women cheat just as much as men do. But people turn a blind eye to when women cheat and when women are sexist. People turn a blind eye and just accept it as, oh, that's just how it is. But when men do it, we're assholes.
I would have just cut his doodle off. I just can't. Like, the more that I read these, I'm just... this makes me desperately uncomfortable. It makes me desperately uncomfortable that people celebrate hurting each other. Like, why? Why?
And then you see a glimpse of what kind of person she really is. After reading the disgusting comments on Facebook or wherever the video was shared, she's like, she feels uncomfortable that people are glorifying and advocating for the hurt and pain of other people. Huh.
Why? How is this funny? I mean, yeah, cheating is not nice. Being cheated on feels really bad, but I mean, to justifiably say that it's okay to hit someone with a car because they cheated on you? No. Y'all need Jesus.
Fuck your sky god.
Now, in the same week, an American story was released that talked about a young woman who took a machete to her ex-boyfriend's house and then forced him to have sex with her. Now, a number of people go...
Whoa, wait, what? A woman... Another story in Montana, here in the good old US of A. A woman took a machete to her ex-boyfriend's house and held him at machete point and forced him to have sex with her, which is class definition of rape. Yeah.
Got pretty mad about the fact that all these publications were covering the story, but they weren't using the word rape to describe what the woman had done to the man.
And here's where the issue lies with this particular story, other than the psychotic woman bringing a machete to her ex-boyfriend's house and demanding that he have sex with her at machete points. The news outlets, the goddamn fucking news outlets, they were refusing to call it rape because the man was the victim for a change. Really? Now, if a dude had did this, if a dude had shown up to his ex-girlfriend's house in a Jason hockey mask and had a big old fucking machete, held her at machete point and did the same thing, everybody would be outraged. They'd be like, throw that rapist in prison, as they should be outraged. That would be disgusting if a man did that to a woman. So how is it any less disgusting when a woman does it to a man? That's my point exactly. Whenever women do this crap to men, people just turn a blind eye like, oh, I didn't see nothing. That, or they laugh at him like, oh, how is it rape? All you men want is sex. You know, and that's...
Because, forced sex is rape.
Yeah.
I've touched on this before, but there seems to be this reluctance in Western society to talk about issues and conceptualize male experiences and female experiences in the same way. These two instances that I've just talked about, for me, are case in point. A woman hits a man with a car because he cheated on her, and that's really funny and a good time to tag your partner and tell them if they do cheat on you, you're going to do the exact same thing. A woman rapes a man, and apparently nobody wants to actually call a spade and call it rape. I don't profess to have all the answers when it comes to this topic, but I'd really like to know why it is that we downplay female-perpetrated violence. Is it because it doesn't fit into the male perpetrator, female victim paradigm?
Yes, you asked a very good question. Why is it that we downplay female-perpetrated violence? And she said, is it because it doesn't play into that stereotypical female victim, male dominant asshole bullshit? And the answer is yes, that's part of it.
Or is it because society feels a need to shield women from criticism?
And that's the other half of it. The reason why when you watch TV shows like CSI, I talked about this in a recent Pipe Thoughts video, why 95, now this is something I've noticed, when you're watching the news, they choose to report on all the horrible shit that men do, all the wars we start, and then on the TV shows where 98% of the villains are played by males, it's designed to paint a negative image towards men and make them look like monsters when not all of us are like that. And the other half of it is exactly what you said, Sydney, because society feels like that women need to be shielded from criticism. Which is why you see a lot of people sticking up for women when it comes to the body positive movement, because it's not right to criticize these people and harass them. There's constructive criticism, like what the doctors are saying, like, hey, being morbidly obese comes with these health risks, blah, blah, blah. That's constructive criticism versus, oh, you're a disgusting fat slob, blah, blah, blah. That's just being mean. So that's the difference, really. And men are not shielded from criticism at all. You know, men are not shielded from that shit at all. And we've been in those relationships. We've all seen it, right? She starts talking about your issues, and you're having a shit piss poor day, and you're already in a foul mood because your girlfriend's fighting with you over the stupidest fucking thing on the planet. You're asking yourself, why the fuck is this even a fight? Why the fuck are we even having this conversation? So instead of overreacting, you simply say, all right, you want to talk about my issues? Let's talk about your fucking issues. And then she looks at you and says, we will discuss this later when you've calmed down. The fuck is that? You know, that's exactly my point.
We place an awful lot of emphasis on talking about the experiences of women when it comes to violent acts like domestic violence and rape. In fact, we mostly only talk about women when it comes to these situations.
Oh, fucking hell, that's so true, it hurts. You know, why is that? You know, why is it that when it comes to domestic abuse, violence, and rape, women are always thrown underneath the bus? They're always brought up as the topic. You know, that further perpetuates that negative stereotype that women are victims and men are the assholes. When the thing of it is, this kind of crap happens to both sides. Now here's the thing of it. If a woman is raped, she gets accused of making it up, or she's just lying about it. And to me, that's just as shitty as telling men, yeah, but all you guys want is sex, so how is it rape? Just as deplorable, in my opinion. But...
And we only talk about women as the universal victim and men as the universal perpetrator.
That is so true. Like, we do talk about women as the universal victim and that men are the universal perpetrator. That is so fucking true, it hurts. And I guarantee you, if it was the other way around, women would fight for gender equality until they got what they wanted. They'd be like, hey, we're not the assholes here, men do it too, you know, kind of thing. But if men try to fight for that same equality, we get told, shut up and suck it up and just deal with it. That's just how it is, you know.
But I think a huge failing on the part of society, and particularly Western society, is that when it comes to things that women do to men, we just simply don't look at it in the same way that we look at the things that men do to women. I mean, and I keep saying this, and apparently it just makes people really mad, but as far as I'm concerned, violence doesn't have a gender. And as long as we're going to talk about violence and talk about violent acts and try to get around violent acts, maybe we need to evaluate the fact that we are not thinking about the things that women do and the things that men do in the same way.
Exactly my point. And this is something that I've tried to point out with my double standards videos, is to get men and women thinking along the same pathway, for them to better understand each other. You know, and she's exactly right. Violence does not have a gender. It's, you know, and if we just accept things as they are, then nothing gets done about it. You know, and this is the question I would ask women, is what if women were treated like men when it came to rape and violence? You know, you'd hate that shit. You would. You would not like it at all. You would fucking hate it. So even if you might get accused of making it up from time to time, at least you're taken more seriously on those issues. You know, it's considered comedic relief when a dude's getting his ass kicked by a female. Like, oh, look at this pussy faggot get his ass kicked by a female. This is hilarious. Hardy her.
I will say that there are things, particular situations, crimes, whatever, in society that are male-dominated or female-dominated.
Yeah. You're right. There are situations that are more dominated by one gender or the other. And that's just how it is. You can't change that. There are going to be some things that are more male dominated. There are going to be some things that are more female dominated. You can't literally change that. That's just people's personal choice, you know, that's how it is.
But the problem is that we're just really not that interested in talking about the male experience at all. Some of the comments that people left in relation to the woman who raped her ex-boyfriend were pretty gross. Is it bad that I saw this and thought, hey, good for her, LMAO? We're in a social climate right now where women have been through so much, and if they want to take a machete and rape a dude every now and then, all the power to them. They literally create life. I think they should get a pass sometimes, lol. To be honest, I'm really not surprised.
Oh, yeah. That comment was pretty disgusting. Now, in regards to this psychotic woman bringing a machete to rape her ex-boyfriend at his house, again, just like the woman who used her car to hit her boyfriend for cheating on her, the comments for this story are no better. One woman comments, "We're in a social climate right now where women have been through so much shit, and if they want to take a machete and rape a dude every now and then, all the power to them. They literally create life. I think they should get a pass sometimes, LOL." If you're referring to giving birth to babies, guess what? You need the boy for that too, you dumb cunt. You need your boyfriend for that too, because it takes two to make a baby, you dumb shit. So, guess what? Women like that are what you'd call a feminazi. Women who make comments like that are feminazis. And normally I don't call women cunts or bitches, but when they have that kind of mindset that men are just scum underneath their stiletto heel, then guess what? They've earned that nickname from me. I generally have a lot of respect for women, and for many reasons. You know, one, because that's how I was raised, and two, because women want to be treated like human beings. But when you act like pieces of shit, you're going to get treated like pieces of shit. You can't sit here and say, you know, men are oppressive pieces of shit when you instigate it. You know? You fucking instigate it. You sit there and you have this shitty mentality towards men, and then you get pissed off when men look at you like, ew. You have a shitty mentality towards men, and they treat you like shit because you treat them like shit. How do you think it works for men? The exact same way. If men have a shitty mentality towards women, women are going to treat them like shit. That's just how it works. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Like, when I read that comment, I was on this story, I was like, how the fuck are people this disgusting? It just makes me sick to my fucking stomach.
Them. They literally create life. I think they should get a pass sometimes, lol. To be honest, I'm really not surprised that a lot of women seem to have this mentality towards men, where they feel like men owe them because of all the things that men in the past, in like the 1900s, did to them. And so I feel like then...
Right? She basically just spoke the truth. She says that she feels like some women feel like men owe them something because their ancestors were treated like shit by men's ancestors. Yep. She said it. She fucking said it. And it felt so good to hear that from a woman's mouth. Because here's the thing of it. If I would have fucking said it, people would have been like, well, you're a sexist and you're insensitive. You have no idea what it's like to be a woman. But if a woman says it, it's like, whoa. How do you react to that, you know? How are other women going to react to that when they hear another woman saying that shit? Oh, you're just a whore because you like men more. And it's like, no, that's not even the case. You know, like...
we're actually just setting ourselves up to have these sort of situations happen, and people really not take them that seriously. In a lot of ways, we're basically just saying, well, guys, you know, kind of suck it up and take it, because basically you've done a lot of horrible things to women, and therefore you deserve what you're getting. Yeah, you deserve to be raped at machete point. You deserve that. Now, last but not least, I want to move on to the last stupid thing that has happened this week regarding men and women. Two senators went head-to-head this week over comments that both of them had made to each other in Parliament. To put it in context, Parliament was voting on a bill regarding pepper spray and non-lethal weapons and allowing people to carry them. A female politician was giving a speech, at which time Senator Sarah Hanson-Young yelled out something about men and stopping them from raping.
All right, and this last story. There were some members of the Australian Parliament who were having a meeting discussing whether or not Australian citizens should have the right to carry pepper spray and other non-lethal weapons for personal protection. A female was giving this speech, at which point another female stood up and yelled some derogatory comments about stopping all the men who are rapists, because all men are rapists and they can't control themselves, basically is what she said. And when that level of ignorance comes from a woman, the response is golden. One of the male parliament members heard that and was highly offended. Now imagine for a second, ladies, you get so tired of being called a bitch and a whore all the time. So whenever you hear a woman say all men are just rapists, how is that any different? But yeah, now that you have a context of what's about to happen, oh man.
Another senator named David Leyonhjelm responded to Hanson-Young's comments and told her to stop shagging men. Ergo, I guess his point was that if all men are rapists, then why is she spending time getting physical with them?
Dude, I gotta give that dude props, because that was a savage response. Apparently, when you enter junior high, most people never grow up past that stage of their life. Because after this woman in Parliament made a disgusting comment about all men being rapists, a man responded with, well, if we're all rapists, then why are you shagging us? I'm like, dude, that is fucking savage. Like, hey, basically, if all men are rapists, then why are you spending time with them romantically? And, you know, it was one person being immature and stereotypical, so another person responds with an even more immature answer, you know. Just adults acting like children, women picking each other apart. Just our society for you, you know, it's nothing new. But here's where it gets a little,
The following result is that this started a media frenzy and a lot of whining on the part of Senator Hanson-Young, and basically they have asked for his resignation and him to apologize for his sexist slurs.
Yep, another example of where women are starting to have more privilege. Now, instead of telling the woman senator, hey, sitting there calling all men rapists, that's uncalled for. You should apologize to him. And then you should apologize to her for what you said and make it an equal opportunity. Nope, they didn't even do that. They're making him apologize. They made him apologize for his sexist remarks and for the way he treated her. And they're making him they're trying to make him resign as politician. So, what the hell? Like, a woman makes a sexist comment about men in general, and when a man hears that, he responds, and immediately he's called the bigger asshole. And what it comes down to, YouTube, is women are allowed to defend themselves and stand up for themselves, but men aren't. Men are just supposed to fucking take it.
Full disclosure, I don't actually have the clip from Parliament, so I can't actually verify what was said, but other politicians have stepped forward to say that she did say something basically relating to men as rapists, but I personally can't confirm her exact words. However, in other interviews, she has expressed opinions about men collectively.
Okay, so the same politician that made that disgusting comment about men in general has expressed similar viewpoints in interviews, and Sydney Watson was kind enough to provide a clip of one of her interviews of this politician who was,
Men cannot control themselves.
So they're saying men cannot control themselves
And deal with their own issues. It is not women's fault.
This female politician is saying men cannot control themselves. They cannot deal with their own issues. It is not women's fault.
That men behave like morons and like pigs.
It's not women's fault that men behave like morons and pigs. No, you're right about that. But it's a two-way street. It takes two people to have a baby, and it takes two people to fight. Therefore, if you are completely trashing men and then refusing to acknowledge the parts that women have had in this issue, then you're not fixing the problem of gender equality. You're only contributing to it. It's not really a problem. It's an issue that needs to be addressed in our society. And when I make this statement, I'm not attacking women, because I fully acknowledge that men are just as guilty as women when it comes to this shit.
My point of bringing this up is not to debate whether or not the comments said in Parliament were acceptable or not, because I know a lot of people are going to get hung up on that. My point more is that why is it acceptable for a female politician to make collective comments about the men of Australia, but as soon as someone responds to that and says something similar about women, that's not acceptable?
Another good question. Sydney asked the question, why is it that when female politicians of Australia make derogatory comments about male politicians of Australia, no one says anything, but as soon as men do it, it's seen as an issue? That's true everywhere, for the most part, especially here in the Western society. Women can make obnoxious comments about our asses and our bulges and our faces and our, whatever. The minute a man says nice boobs or nice ass towards a woman, she looks at him and says, you're a pig. And that's, that's the problem you see everywhere. Women are allowed to make the most obnoxious comments about men and the way their bodies look, but as soon as a man does it, he's an asshole and he's a pig.
You literally here have a representative of the people, some people, I'm not sure which people, saying things like men can't control themselves and men behave like pigs, and somehow that is perfectly justifiable, but it also reinforces the idea that we can say whatever we want about men, even if it's negative, especially if it's negative, and it's perfectly okay. However, I simply urge you just to replace the word men with women and then tell me if those comments are okay or not.
Yeah, for real. For real.
Because I can tell you for a fact, as far as everything else goes, they would not be. As far as I'm concerned, collectively calling men rapists is the same thing as saying that all women are sluts.
Cue the Halo music. Okay, Sydney just basically said calling all men rapists is no better than calling all women sluts. Do you know how refreshing it is to hear that from a female? Holy shit. Instead of this general attitude that a lot of women have lately, which is trash men, we're all pieces of shit. You know? I mean, the women I talk to have been very nice in person. You know what I'm saying? The women I've talked to have been very nice in person. However, you know, that's just the general attitude a lot of women have, and it's disgusting.
It's not true, and it's not okay to say.
She's like, it's not true, it's not okay to say. You're right. Absolutely, 100%. This one you're right on.
In the United States, people frequently tell Black Americans to...
Oh, she had to bring race into it. Why did you have to... No, okay. Why did you have to bring race into it?
Get off the plantation. Meaning that, stop acting like you're a slave, stop acting like you're still in the time when there were slaves, and let's get on and let's move past this.
Ugh, dude, I've never actually heard... To be fair, Sydney, I've never heard anyone tell an African American to get off the plantation and stop acting like a slave. I've never heard anyone say that. Okay, that's kind of... Ugh, dude. I've never heard... Now, I've heard a lot of people call black people the N-word many times, and that really just... I don't like it, you know, because it makes white people look bad, and it's racist towards black people. You feel me? So I feel like that comparison was kind of unnecessary, but...
I'd like to say the same thing to women. Women, get out of the kitchen. You're not a 1920s housewife. You're not fighting for basic human rights. No one is trying to subjugate you. So for goodness sake, get out of the kitchen. Get out of this kitchen mentality where you are the one that's being actively oppressed, because it is nonsense. We have this accepted double standard where it's perfectly okay to abuse men and say horrific things about men. But when the shoe's on the other foot and we're saying those same things about women, then it's not okay.
She's basically saying what a lot of men have been saying. Stop with the kitchen mentality. Stop with this, oh, I'm an oppressed female, blah, 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 bullshit. And she also acknowledged the double standard where we can belittle and treat men like shit. We can say whatever the fuck we want to men, especially if it's negative. We can criticize men all day, pick them apart. But as soon as the shoe's on the other foot, it's seen as sexist or insensitive. You know how refreshing it is to hear that from a female? You know, and a lot of women aren't like this. A lot of women aren't like that either. You know, not every woman is bitchy and self-entitled. A lot of women feel the same way. But again, you take the word feminism and replace it with feminazi when you watch 4 reasons why feminism is full of hypocrisy with the video made by Sydney Watson. You place the word feminism in the video and in the title with feminazi, and as I have explained the feminazi movement before many times on my channel, you'll start to see a connection.
I'm getting really sick of the argument that feminism is about equality, because feminism is not about equality.
Okay, she says she's getting sick and tired about feminism being about equality. That's where I disagree with you. Feminism is about gender equality. You know, a lot of these women are still fighting for rights that they may not have. And that's the thing of it. A lot of rights these men have, some of these women would like to have, but they don't get to have because that's gender oppression. But what do you think, okay, Sydney, what do you think feminism is about?
Even the actual definition of feminism says that feminism is about elevating the rights of women's to that of men's. Well, hey guys, it is 2018 and all your rights.
Okay, so if the definition of feminism is elevating the rights to be equal with men's, then it is about equality. You kind of contradicted yourself there again, but that's alright.
Rights are elevated to the same level as men's. So let me just recap this because this is the truth. Feminism does not care about men. Feminism does not exist to help men.
Feminazi, you mean?
And therefore, it is very unsurprising to me when things are said about men and women are totally silent. But it also shows how you are total hypocrites. As soon as men's groups come forward and try to protect men against the horrible things that are being said against them, women scream and call them sexist. And you know what? It is ridiculous and it has to stop.
Yes! Ooh, she's right. As soon as these groups for men come forward, started by men, to protect men from the disgusting shit that women say about men, women immediately scream about how sexist it is of them, and it is total hypocrisy. I agree with you 100%. Oh my god, this is awesome. Oh, yes.
So my question is, at what point do we really stop ourselves and say that we need to call a spade and accept that this behavior is not acceptable on either side?
Thank you. Exactly my point. Exactly my point. At what point do we stop ourselves and ask, why is this okay? We need to accept that this kind of behavior is not okay from either gender. Like, it's not okay for men to act like this, and it's not okay for women to act like this. I agree 100%.
That you don't get to abuse people on either side or collectively talk about genders on either side. Really, we should just be expecting each other to be better. Treat each other better.
Exactly what I've been saying the whole fucking time. We should not be... Exactly my point. We should be treating each other better instead of expecting each other to do this, this, and that, blah, 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 blah.
If you wouldn't accept disgusting behavior towards a woman, then why on earth would you accept that same behavior towards a man?
Exactly my point. If you wouldn't accept the disgusting behavior towards women, why would you accept it towards your own sex? Exactly my point. You get the feminazi males too, believe me. Oh yeah, feminazi males exist. These kiss-ass, these pussy kissers, who are like constantly belittling men to appeal to women, you know. Men who are constantly belittling their own sex to make women feel happy. Yeah. And the same can be said for a true feminist or gender equalityist, I guess is what I call myself. That's exactly what I call myself, as a gender equalityist. But,
Call it out. If you're gonna call it out on either side, you gotta call it out on both.
Yep. If you're going to call it out on either side, you do have to call it out on both. That's exactly what gender equality looks like. If you're going to be so quick to criticize what the other sex does or what men do, then call it out on the woman's side as well. I agree with that 100%.
The last thing I want to say about all of this is, if you truly believe that women are all about, standing together and supporting one another, I really genuinely urge you to go and read the comments in the last video I posted on Facebook in particular, and go and read the comments from other women. And I'm going to assume most of them are feminists, or most of them just really aren't that educated. Go and read them, and then tell me how nice feminism is, and how much feminism wants to create a united utopia. Go read them. I dare you. As always, if you like the video, hit subscribe.
Okay. you claim that feminism is not about women supporting each other because, again, this is where feminazi culture has infected feminism as a movement. So instead of women uniting together and supporting each other, feminazism teaches women to victimize themselves, slut shame other women, and blame men for everything. And this is very toxic for women everywhere, YouTube. You know what I'm saying? This is incredibly toxic for women everywhere. This is not female empowerment. There's nothing empowering for women when it's victimizing yourself, slut-shaming yourself, slut-shaming other women, and blaming men for all of society's problems. Yeah, but who gives birth to men? Women do. So, guess what, women? If you hate men so much, blame yourselves for it. You give birth to them. Did that just blow your fucking mind? Oh, that might have been too far. I'm just saying, you angry, pissed off feminazi cunts, you hate men so much, guess what? You give birth to them. That's your own damn fault. These feminazis who hate men so much, guess what? It's your fault men exist in this world. You know how it's your fault? Because your gender gives birth and mine doesn't. That's how it's your fault. So if you really want to bitch at how much you hate men, okay, I'm sorry, that was too far. See, I can be an ass when I want to be, but, you know, all jokes aside, I was kidding, by the way. Don't take that seriously. Like, well, I was kind of kidding, but, you know, it was a joke. Jeez. Alright, so, I'm like, I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna close out this video. Maybe some, like, awesome-ass guitar playing, just, you know, I don't know. Would you like that, YouTube? This, another video by yours truly, closed out with some, wicked shreds. Yeah. This might be a new tuning that I've created, or it might already be a tuning, I don't know. It's got kind of a drop E minor sort of sound to it, which you can like bar it up on the string a bit. Oh, holy Toledo Batman, this is a long-ass video. 2-hour long video. There's your video response. Thanks for rocking out. I'll catch you later.